Hey Soul Tribe, it's Alisha here at Cosmic Gateway. I have had, well, first of all, let's say we're officially through the first week of November and it's been so incredibly powerful. So much is transpiring and progressing through the ethers and in the physical, and everything's trying to match and amalgamate and compress into merging the non-physical with physical right now. This, bridging the gap that I've been talking about. But I want to talk about a few things that have been musing through in the preparation for the cosmic rebirth container of all these themes that I'm experiencing and witnessing, and the themes that have been coming up through sessions and through conversations. And I felt like it was really important just to create a little audio and musing, just to kind of share what have been some of my observations. And this is very highly around the time loops, the sacred partnership connections that are like the energy that's so palpable in the reconnective phase that we're walking into. The energy's been so palpable for that. And it's showing up in so many different ways. For some people, it's a reconnection of long lost loves from years ago. Some people, it's meeting someone new. Someone, it's a re-sparking or rekindling of a pre-existing relationship. And for other people, I want to talk about a transference, a walk-in, and also a surrogate that is happening, and why this is happening, because I believe we're in such crucial and pivotal times right now. And I want to describe the vision that came to me as I was preparing to sit down and share this update. Imagine almost like a volcano, or if you're looking at a pyramid that has like a capstone on the top. So we're looking at something that has this upward, it looks more like a volcano with a capstone, but a flat layer on top, like a lid, a jar, a container that has this indentation, kind of hourglass shape, and this lid that sits at the top. So inside the container is all the beauty, literally the streams of the timeline experience where we've hit that higher octave, which is where we're in the lead up to, or that is filtering in now. But especially since the end of 2019, and I've talked about this so many times, and here we are again in this November gateway that opens up, and it's always really a heightened time as we move through October, November, through to about February, March-ish time. And then it's like we kind of lose traction and the timeline dips again. And what I've been assured or shown is that this time is different, because we're actually closing off with the 9-year. We're actually really wrapping up so much. And that's why this year's been, or the last couple of years have been so hard for so many people, because we're culminating and we're closing off so much of the inverted and the distorted and the corrupted timelines. So if you imagine this sort of container of light that has these 5 strands, it comes back to this 5, and I think I have a better understanding now, or another vantage point of the 5. So if we look at the last 5 years, which is what I've been calling the COVID timeline, the inverted that came into place, we've hit this point where we've had access to the new, or the higher reality, to slowly try and anchor in. But what we've done each time is we've pulled in, and they look like iridescent rainbow strands of frequency, like columns of light. And we've experienced that for a period of time. We've embodied some of it. And then we've kind of lost that full connection, and we've gone back into the clearing phase. So this capstone, if you will, or lid that's sitting over the top of this container represents the limitation, the obstruction. And I'm talking collectively, not individually, but I mean, we can look at it micro, macro, but specifically it's been showing me the collective ascension process in relation or in conjunction with this. And what we've done is each time we've got to that peak point of feeling like we're out of it, we're accessing the clean, pristine timeline, kind of the entrance into the new earth reality or the new space. It's like the lid's been shut, and it's like there's been a powerful group of us that have been able to access it by working through the sludge, the gunk, the distortion, the layers, the clearing, the healing. And this directly, if you look at it from a masculine, feminine, or like just a counterpart circle, if you will, is there has been those that have been more ingrained or in unconsciously experience or actively participating, let's say, in the clearing. And so it's like there's been this disproportionate, like one side's been lifting the lid, accessing the new, bringing it in, but we haven't had the full leverage to lift it off entirely. And that's where I'm being shown we're at, is this month and beyond, we're preparing to lift this lid in its entirety. And what that looks like breaking down is that as we've got to this wrap-up point of closing down this 5-year cycle and this 10-year cycle, so there's cycle within cycles that we've been kind of coming in more inward into the inner spiral, if you will, to get to the leverage or the cracks of what's going to flick off and flip over this lid that kind of allows us to access the new, is the whole counterpart frequency and how powerful and palpable that is. In the last 5 years, many of the other, when we're talking about the direct relation to the counterpart connection, have gone through, well, we all have, but it showed there was like this overlay of distorted energy that came in towards the end of 2019, and it represented the core wounding that ended civilization of ancient Egypt, or other great civilizations that we've had these really beautiful golden ages. And it's like that has been unprocessed and undealt with, not wanting to look at, has still had its crux into humanity, into playing out now in real time, because it's layers of reality that are intertwined or overlapping one another. So what we're doing is removing back to its pristine. And what I was reminded of was a experience and a post that came through in November of it was the 22nd of November 2022, and that date keeps coming up over and over. So I went back through all my notes of these experiences and dreams that I document over the years, and I actually found a post that I want to share, because I feel like where we're at now is, say in 2022 was like a pivotal one of the counterparts, because it wasn't just me. So many people had this collectively experience in their own way. So it was like we reached because that was the halfway point of this sort of COVID timeline. We reached this pivotal breaking point where one was able to access the frequency of the wrap up and the close up, and then we've been diligently working to close the gap. And what I'm witnessing is now, in the hands of the other, it's like that person who hasn't maybe been as consciously aware in the dynamic is now doing the cleanup work that is allowing this lid to be fully lifted. And I'm seeing it. It's so exciting because I see this so much in my work through dynamics where one seemed like they were doing all the heavy lifting, and that it was non-reciprocal in many ways, that can be expressed many ways in the physical form. But one was aware of all the past lifetimes and the experiences and the traumas and all the distorted overlays and the interference, and the other one seemingly kind of living this very disconnected to spirituality lifestyle as a general blanket overview. But now what I see is the more consciousness is starting to filter back into those individuals that have been more disconnected or more separated from that frequency. And it's like whatever is playing out in their reality is proactively clearing the distortion that is allowing this lid to be lifted off and dissolved in its entirety. What happens when this lid gets taken off is we start to amalgamate all the high points in our ascension pathway when we've hit those peak points, and then we've sort of gone back in the loop, we've lost our footing. It's like we're amalgamating all that to build a solid foundation for what we're moving into, like November, December, and moving forward into 2026. Not to say that it's happening straight away, and the message that I keep getting is slow and steady, don't rush this. We have to be really diligent in it and very conscious in every action that we move forward, making sure that we're essentially dotting our I's and crossing our T's, because we're actually building a solid foundation of new reality that's leveling out as we speak. So that's where we go through, the high moments of being embodied in that, and then it dips down for more integration. But those gaps are getting smaller and less whiplash, if you like. We're being able to attune, and that's the process we're doing, is we're attuning each more and more. And through this process, so many more people are reuniting and coming in contact with these counterparts and these powerful soul connections, because that is the cornerstone piece that actually helps build this new reality. It can't be denied. That is such a critical and powerful piece. As much as we have been burnt on this journey, as much as we've been disappointed, disillusioned, we've gone to hell and back, essentially. And I speak for myself and the collective of that I work with personally. It's a very rough journey, but it's paying off now. We're getting to the point now where we can start to see bearing the fruits of our labor, where it's like the other party is being able to see for the first time. And I do feel like this is heavily influenced by the disconnection from the consciousness that's being used in some of the matrix pods, because a big theme that has been coming up is people unplugging from the distorted version of reality, whether you call it the matrix or the inverted timeline. I'm literally seeing that in sessions of people being disconnected, flushed out of the black sediment or goo or energy debris, the carbon-based energies, and being reinfused with the new harmonic geometry of the new reality that is slowly being accessed and birthed through us. But I want to go back to Egypt. It's funny, I was flicking through my Egypt photos. I've been there quite a few times in this lifetime. Lots of coda and activation has occurred in my physical life being there. But I wanted to read this this update that I wrote back in 2022, because I think it speaks to what is playing out now, or the final stages and phases of what is playing out right now. And then I'll go into more of my own personal experience over this week and what has come through. And where is it? Okay, so there has been one of the biggest timeline shifts I've experienced, which occurred due to the massive amount of increased light which came through on the evening of the 22nd, 2022. This connects back to the timeline which was in progress or started to occur in 2019. There was a huge amount of golden energy, high hopes and optimism that were presented at that time. Then something happened, a timeline shift. The timeline shift, and it became quite distorted. My own intuition told me that it was connected to ancient Egypt and the corruption, inversion and hijacking that took place before it ended. As what started as a highly regarded and evolved civilization then came burning to the ground. This may play out with other civilizations. If you don't have direct connection to Egypt, it could be Atlantis, Lemuria, cosmic battles, Orion, galactic wars. You are your own best guide for this information. What occurred back then was massive purification of these timelines that are many or multiple playing out, just like I said, that we've been diligently working through. And of course, it was deeply witnessed. It was deeply connected to what we witnessed through the global center stage with the misinformation, lots of smoke screens and mirrors. I've talked about the deception energy that has been present for most of this year. I'm referring to 2022, not this year. That has been due to the collapse of these timelines. What has been building for months has led up to what occurred over the past few days, collapsing of those timelines, which puts humanity on such an upward swing trajectory that is once again filled with light, hope and optimism. Physically too, this could take a massive toll. As the energies came through, it sent ripples and shock waves to those who are connected to the timeline. Especially, you might have had trouble sleeping, palpable energy making your body shake or vibrate, making you sick, nauseous, strong energy impacting the crown, the third eye, physical vision may be impacted or temporarily impaired, strong headaches or lucid dreams. Actual interactions with other dimensional beings while awake make you feel crazy if you're experiencing it for the first time. It's powerful, it's monumental, and we've been working so hard to correct these timelines. There's been many grueling tests and challenges, personal initiations, which might get you to the point of wanting to give up. You might have past life memories coming up, working with awarenesses through dream space. Now you might need time and space just to rest and allow the shifts and changes to integrate. You may find reconnections with people who are significant to those timelines coming up in your physical life, telepathic connection with them, or in vivid dreams. From this point moving forward, there is so many beautiful transformations for the individual and for humanity. So that was a update for in 2022, and I think that is strongly connected to energetic themes that are playing out now, maybe more highlighted or pronounced for people. But I've heard multiple occasions of people having intense energy, body shakes, like visceral reactions. I know that when that distorted timeline came in, I had huge Egyptian devastation memories, and I got incredibly sick. And I burnt up for like 3 days with a fever in bed. And interesting, want to talk about the bookends of wrapping that up. I think, the sickness that I endured this year and the hospitalization was literally clearing out all of that energetic debris. There's so much to the physical body of what's happening right now that is related to the emotional distress, the multi-dimensional cleanup of reclaiming those fractal aspects of us that are still trapped in the trauma of that looping in what happened in those devastating times. You may feel that connection to Egypt like I do. It might be a different era. It may be a different end of time scenario that's trapped on a loop. So what's really important coming up now is that everyone who had actively participated in the rise and highlighted the downfall are doing the final mop-up cleanup job. And that's going to look different. You know, for some people it might be playing out in, you know, highly toxic patterns and, you know, uncomfortable relationship dynamics. For other people, it's like a whole change of lifestyle. It can be health, body stuff. The body literally is expressing this in such pronounced ways. And if we can connect with our body and truly listen to it and listen to whatever trauma it's trying to release, we can make so much more progress with our healing. But I also want to talk about transference of counterparts. So counterparts are such a big topic, and probably I would refer to my audio in the counterparts tab. I've done, you know, lots of different audios about this, but essentially when we're coming in, the counterpart that is the other aspect of us, the one that holds the same frequency, that has come here very specifically to play a role, to be a co-creator, to create, to shut down this matrix, and to literally restore balance and open the pathway, the door, 1111, open up the door to the new reality. And to reset this new harmonic reality that's emerging. Many of us were here that experienced the creation of this universe, and we're here to close down and, you know, remember everything without the naivety, and then step into the new with all you know, when we close a cycle, we embody all the wisdom. We unify the polarities and we start anew with that wisdom. And that is what is occurring. So with the transference, often, and this is rare, but this became a lot more common when the COVID timeline came in 2020. Everyone that I knew on the Divine Counterpart path in 2019 had basically almost reached a physical union with their partner. And we'd worked really hard to get to that point. When that COVID timeline came in, most people went into a form of physical separation for various reasons. And what I was shown at that time was literally one of the couple dynamic wasn't ready, hadn't reached the maturity or the maturation to hold the frequency that relationship required to do this collective work. Whether it was a personal choice or that they just had too much clearing to do, they were too embedded in the matrix. It could even be looked upon as the collective wasn't ready, therefore it was the greatest sacrifice. I put that in inverted commas. Sacrifice, the origins of that word is to make sacred. To excavate what hadn't been overturned. So one decided to go deeper into the dissension of the density and the disempowerment, to play the role of more separation or unawakened, more programmed. And the other one had to deal with the template of the heartbreak of someone whose personality has changed, who seemingly has been shut down, of their consciousness has been shut down. And it does, it unearthed that wound of what the devastating impacts that many witness through the destruction of these civilizations, so that we won't do that again. And I literally saw that the timeline had split. There was like overlapping timelines, and there was literally on a physical level, some decided to go with other partners, some moved away, some just disappeared. Like sometimes there was just no explanation. It was just literally out of each other's bandwidth, or some really crazy scenarios, really abrupt things. And I was literally watching like 2 layers of reality where it was like almost couldn't connect. And what I'm seeing now as I describe that veil of not being able to connect is completely dissolving. But what happened during that time was many people, just because that person walks out of your life doesn't mean that your journey stops there. Your journey always continues, because the counterpart is a frequency. So the transference is what happens when a new person on a soul level is an exchange that happens, that is coordinated on a soul level, where someone chooses to step in and play to continue that journey with you. And what happens is it's always someone who has a strong soul resonance, but it might not be the exact match, but it's a very similar frequency. And what happens is, energetically, there is a fusion of what I call transference of the twin soul energy that moves into that person's body. It's not a walk-in, it's not an upgrade. It literally kind of just attunes a little bit more to your frequency of that dynamic, so that your path can continue through someone else. So there is that many have gone through that experience. Now, that is more of a permanent, where it's just too hard. It's like they opt out, they can't. Sometimes it's temporary because it's going to be a long period of separation. It's very individual. But the other thing that I want to talk about is, right now, as we're moving through this phase and really excavating all of that inverted density and the corrupted timelines, the layers just being dissolved and removed, is we may have surrogates step in for a period of time, where someone who holds a frequency of a counterpart, so they're actually walking that journey and path with you, they'll step in for a period of time to kind of do a sacred cosmic dance, to give you the energy exchange that you need to help access the points, the healing, the activation, the code, to get the job done, essentially. Now, this can come through many different types of relationships. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It can be platonic. It can be same-sex. It can be just a mutual benefit, because this is a much bigger, wider collective experience that is happening, that we're in the finalization phases of, as we move through these months, and not dip again as we've done in the previous 5-year cycle, where we've kind of got to a crescendo and then the bottom's dropped out, because now it's almost like a fail-safe that the universe won't allow moving forward to stay trapped in those loops. And once again, there's so much that I feel is related to the SSP, going through this wrap-up phase, the pods, people being... There's so many different aspects and elements at play, but essentially it's like, I don't know, it's almost like a collective divine will that's slowly internally being activated for those who carry. It's like there's this slow remembrance that's just coming online. So I just wanted to come on. I know that's a lot of information, and this week especially, I've gone through my own quantum merging session. This is probably the third one I have done since I created quantum merging. So powerful. But this time I actually had someone co-share and facilitate the space for me, which gave me even deeper access. And once again, this theme around the core wound of the love, of the heartbreak, of the Egyptian timelines, and all the distortion that has happened and what it has perpetuated and how it is being dismantled in real time showed up so loudly. And I feel like it's rippling through, coming up in people's awarenesses. And I just felt like it was really important for me to come on here and just share this information if you're going through trying to make sense of the energies, because it has been quite dense and heavy off and on for this last week. And I've noticed during dream space, especially, there's been a lot of past relationship type themes, a lot of fear-based, there's a lot of fear-based energy being pumped in the collective at the moment, governments, control, all that type of energy. So what I've been noticing in the dream space is, for a portion of the night, there's been the higher timeline trying to push through, and that's what's actually pushing all this gunk to the surface, is that SSC, what I've been calling is the sacred soul counterpart template, is literally attuning within us and pushing all this layers that are in a mismatch frequency up to be cleared. So I've been having dream space of like a couple hours a night of like that highest co-creative, beautiful energy, all the vibrant colors, all the creative projects, the communion with the souls wanting to come through, all that. And then it flips. It's like half and half. And then it's all this like fear ruminating. So a lot of fears playing out in the dream space, or what I've been shown is closing down personal and collective timelines due to especially this last year 5-year wrap up, especially, or can even be 10 years. And it's like we're getting more fine-tuned, getting down to this reset point. So as I share this, I just share what's sort of coming through into my awareness in real time. It's just building upon everything that I've been showing probably, since March even. And this is what is happening as a direct relation in our body, accessing the new templated body. So it's a huge process. There's so much that's going on. There's so much intricacies in what's happening. But it's utterly profound when you take into consideration, into the awe of what we're emerging into, and just this slow and steady work with the creative process each day, because that's what we're building, not to lose traction. So it's like, don't rush this process. And the final thing that I could talk about this for hours, but I'll wrap it up now. The final thing that sort of came through was like, once we hit the second part of November, towards the end is when we're going to see in our reality the clarity of this and what all the new available or accessible within us and around us, much more tangibly accessible, a lot more clarity of the path unraveling, moving forward, or things moving. And that's where I think even more cosmic connections landing. And that was another thing that I had a visitation from a higher, like I will say a counterpart being, but in a higher realm version, and came to me explicitly to say that the cosmic, and I've been getting information around this since 2021, that in relation to the SSP, the cosmic connections, the contracts are wrapping up, and it's allowing for these more benevolent pods and the level of consciousness embodiment to land, whether that's like, and I think 3i Atlas has a lot to do with this. So there's this landing of the cosmic counterparts in consciousness, which is then what I call the soul walk-in upgrade. This happens, the window period that this happens each year, or not every year, maybe every second year, is between November and December, where we have more of our own cosmic consciousness come into our bodies. So it's an upgrade to the physical, but it's an upgrade to our path, our soul mission, and it often brings in new soul counterpart connection, or a strengthening of that bond. So when I had this visitation a few weeks ago, I was shown, it was quite unexpected, so they're the ones that I put the most emphasis on, not when I'm looking for information, but when it just drops in, and sometimes I even have resistance to it. And what it was shown to me was, yes, these cosmic connections are landing, grounding into earth, into the vessel, the human vessel, and that we are literally walking into the times that have been foreseen, foretold, prophesized for decades, for eons. And this is only just the beginning. So I'll leave you with that. Of course, starting tomorrow, the Cosmic Rebirth container for the Sacred Union template kicks off. So Sunday the 9th at 7 p.m. I'll put the details in the description box. If this video and the information in this video resonates with you, and you can relate to some of it, and that's being activated in your energy field, please consider joining the 6-week container. You can read more about it via the website, or if I can support you one-on-one, you can connect with me that way. If not, I am just sending every one of you so much love and gratitude for being here while we move through this momentous time on this planet. So much love, big hugs, and I will connect with all of you in some capacity soon.